A controversial Texas law has become a blueprint for other states. Immigrant communities are worried. This is what Maria Acosta says. I feel powerless. I feel frustrated. She is a community organizer for the Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice. What can I tell people? I can't tell them, oh no, everything is going to be fine. I don't know if everything is going to be fine. Right now, it's not fine at all. If you don't know, Texas passed a law justifiably that would allow local police to arrest illegal immigrants and give state powers to judges who wish to deport them. Back to Maria Acosta, it affects me when I see the fear on their faces. What to do? Come on! They don't know what to do, even though they've been living here for 10 or 15 years, and this is their home. How would you deport someone, and who? No one knows how this law could be or would be applied. I'm sorry, this is Erica Johnson now, the executive director of the Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice. And now we're going to hear from Enya Sid, who was weighing grad school options when she first heard about the bill being passed. And this is what she said. I no longer want to live in a state where I feel like I'm not valued. She was brought here from the U.S. She was brought here to the U.S. from Mexico when she was a toddler and says she has lived in Iowa for the past 18 years. Shockingly, she's not going to go back to her home country. She's going to move to another state. She plans on weighing out-of-state programs in Arizona and New Mexico. I may not be eligible to vote, but I can vote with my feet. As easy as it may be for me to consider a move, there's a lot of people in Iowa who have built roots here for over 2 decades. They have businesses here. They own homes. They have children who are born and raised here. I've tried to explain the law the best I can. We're not sure how the Attorney General is going to enforce this. I'm kind of the voice telling them, let's just take it day by day and see how it turns out. In Idaho, where the State House passed a measure mirroring the Texas law, Estefania Mondragon says she's been trying to get the word out, but also keep people calm, including members of her family, including members of her own family, who've asked whether they should start making plans to leave the state. It's a hard balance to inform the community, but not freak them out at the same time. She is the executive director of Potter, an advocacy organization representing Latino and immigrant communities. It would be horrible for many immigrant folks, as well as non-immigrants, because it would target us as well. I have citizenship, and I could get pulled over and asked for my papers. Fabiola Schurmeister, he said this on his Spanish-speaking radio show. Because we look different, we have dark hair, we have dark-colored skin, now we can be detained by the police. And they have the right to ask me for my documents without me doing anything wrong. It's not something that you want to hear in 2024. So Johnson says one thing, and then Maria Acosta says another thing, and then that's going to be the article. We're helping them set up what we call the safety planning and community defense mechanisms that have become, unfortunately, all too familiar with immigrant communities, not just in Iowa, but everywhere. What should I tell my kids about what we will do as a family if I'm picked up on my way to work? If I'm not there to pick them up at school? Who do they call? Who gets guardianship of them if I'm arrested and deported? What can be done right now? All we can do is know our rights, make a safety plan, and prepare ourselves for battle, because we're going to fight this. This is what I'm talking about as well, because we as American citizens feel powerless and frustrated. We have this pedophile in office who was just installed in the office without the consent of a lot of Americans, actually. And this pedophile, before he even was installed as the president, he said he was going to let the migrants surge to the border, and that's exactly what happened. And now all of these illegal migrants are in the United States, and we feel powerless and frustrated because this fucking guy and his regime are not doing a single thing to deport them. even though we've had instances of a foreigner running over a man 2 times and then hitting him with a brick over 20 times, killing him. We've had an instance of a migrant raping a 15-year-old girl in a hotel/shelter in Massachusetts. These illegal aliens are doing everything in their power to make American citizens feel unsafe by committing crimes and doing harm to them. Your first action should be the concern of the actual American citizens who are here all their lives, not just 10 to 15 years. Yeah, sure, that's a long time. But you know what else is a long time? 32 years. That's how long I've been living in America. How would you arrest them? How would you deport them? Well, with one minor change. I mean, it would just be like any other encounter with any other criminal, right? You catch them, you arrest them, you put them in handcuffs, hands and feet if necessary, put them in the car, and instead of taking them to a jail cell, maybe not by car, but they could arrest and detain the illegal alien, right? Or illegal aliens, multiple, put them in handcuffs, hands and feet, both detained, both restrained, and then put them on a plane, and then fly them to Texas where they could be pushed through the same entry point in which they came through in the first place. Now again, I'm not a lawmaker, I don't know how that would work. That's just my analysis of how I think it would work. Guess what, Enya Sid? I would much rather prefer it if you left the United States as a whole and went back to Mexico, but apparently that's off the table for you. Because you know damn well there are liberal states with liberal politicians who, quite frankly, don't give a shit about the American public and want to spend trillions and trillions of taxpayer resources on helping illegal alien criminals who do not belong here. Now, you may not be an illegal alien, but that's just because you were dropped off here when you were a toddler, giving you birthright citizenship. And that's another major issue. And here's another thing. Here's another thing about Enya Sid. I may not be eligible to vote, but I can vote with my feet. That's amazing to me. You want to come to a foreign country. Again, America would be considered a foreign country to a Mexican national. But you want to come here and you want to vote for policies allowing more of your people to come here and stay here. You should do that in Mexico. You should vote for policies that help Mexico be good for your people. We don't have a responsibility. We don't have a duty. We don't have an allegiance to you. We don't have to do anything to help you. We have our own people. We have our own problems to worry about. And quite frankly, you are just a burden. What should I tell my kids about what we will do as a family if I'm picked up on my way to work? If I'm not there to pick them up from school? Who do they call? Who gets guardianship of them if I'm arrested and deported? Well, that's the good thing about that, because if I think this law is going to go exactly the way I think it's going to go, guess who's coming back with you to Mexico? Your children. We do not have to take care of them either. She makes one more bold claim. If this measure eventually passes, it's not going to take effect until July 1st. She says no doubt many families would consider moving. That would harm agricultural communities and small towns across the state, many of which would be ghost towns without immigration. Well, if every woman decided to give birth instead of getting abortions, maybe we wouldn't need so many immigrants in this country. But most women have been brainwashed by the Democrats into thinking abortion is health care. They have this notion that if they get pregnant, somehow they'll just die, or their health will be at risk, or something bad will happen. The only bad thing about having children is if you don't have enough money, you may have to send them to public school, where no doubt a teacher will try to groom them into thinking they are the opposite gender. But that's the only possible downside. I'm sticking by everything I just said. This is one of the things we need to do to take this country back from the Democrats, from the illegal invaders, and from everyone else who hates us.